Hi and welcome back to my slashed paper journal. I am so excited to keep working on this. It's been a few weeks since I last had a look at this, and going through this unfinished piece now, I feel excited again to hopefully finish it in this episode. If you have not seen the previous episodes, I show you exactly how I made this slashed paper cover, making waxed paper out of vintage papers. Also, we put together these signatures using various soft materials, lace, sewing paper pattern, fabrics, all that yummy stuff. And we've also added some images here, some wedding images from the Digital Collage Club. Looking at these pages now, I'm so in love with them. Oh my goodness. So we printed these images on tea bag papers, and then we joined the pieces together with some rusty fabric. So again, you can find that process in the playlist below. So the first thing I want to do, having this in my hand, I feel like it is time to bind this journal before I do anything else, because it doesn't feel like a journal yet. And to all of you saying, because I again had the comment, how is this a journal if you can't write in it? I want to again say, this is my opinion. Journals do not need to have writing to be called a journal. It can be a visual journal. This is a visual journal. If it makes you feel better, you can also call it an art book. For me, this is a visual journal. So I decided I'm not going to sew in the signatures directly into my cover because I don't want to sew through this spine. I want to keep it like it is. So instead, I'm going to use some of my rust dyed fabric to sew the signatures on. By the way, I have my window open. There's a plane flying overhead. I hope it's not too disturbing, but it is too hot to keep everything closed when you don't have air conditioning. So I need to first, let's take this out of the way, first determine how wide I need this to be. So I want about 1 centimeter from each side of my signatures. They will be sewn together quite closely to each other because I don't have a huge spine. So I'm kind of pushing these together. So I think I can cut approximately here, and that should be fine. Actually, I will tear it. And if you have not heard it in the last video, I do not, unfortunately, have a tutorial for this rust dyed fabric. This is something I've done off camera a long time ago by just adding some rusty objects to an old white tablecloth, rolling the objects inside and then spraying it over the course of a day with a mixture of vinegar and water. Maybe 1 to 1, I'm not even sure. Maybe it was 2 to 3. I don't know. You'd have to experiment. So I had this in a rusty dish, and I just kept spraying it every time I walked by. And then after about a day, I unrolled it and I just hung the pieces of fabric to dry. And then this is what I had. I'm so in love with it. If I ever do it again, I promise I will take you along, because I understand I'm showing you this, but I can't show you how to do it. And I understand that could be disappointing for you. But before we're able to sew these in, I need to first make sure that all the signatures are in order, meaning I want these pieces of lace and fabric to be in the right position, not too wonky. A little wonky is fine. Too wonky is not okay. But that's me. I will, I think, also be cutting these down a little bit. See, the difficult thing is that I don't really see where my middle is, so it's really hard to center these pieces. You know what I mean? Yes, so some of these are just too wide. I definitely want these sticking out of the cover, but not as much as they currently are. I have to say it is quite challenging working with such floppy materials when you're used to working with stiff paper and things usually stay where they were meant to stay, you know what I mean? See, and these are not in the middle. Wow, this is challenging. we do the best we can, right? Okay, so I'm okay with this. So I'll just use some large paper clips to keep things in place. I always just do that for the, oops. Oh no, things are moving. Why? This is really a whole different challenge to working with papers. It will be fine. So I will do the same thing for the other two signatures. Maybe change some of the order because, for example, see, I don't like this because these two are the same width. That doesn't work for me. So I think, let's see, first of all, this is crooked. And then maybe we just, we'll put this one in here. Oh, but that's also similar. See how similar all of these pages are? No, I don't like that. So let's switch things around. This is crooked. Maybe you just have to accept that some things are going to be crooked, right? Great project for us perfectionists to try to just let go. Whatever doesn't fit in the end will be torn or cut, and maybe that will make it look more interesting. So let's just embrace this stage. Rather than getting annoyed, we're going to accept it and say, okay, this is going to add to our project. This one feels so amazing. This is crooked. Okay, this last one was easier. I think it has less materials. So we have the three signatures, and now we need to sew them. Maybe not upside down, Barbara. Make sure they're all in the right direction, and then we're just going to sew them onto our piece of cross-dyed fabric. So maybe, usually I would start with the first signature, but maybe in this case, let's start with the middle one, because that way I can just put this in the middle. I think that might be helpful. Am I going to punch holes first? No, because I think they would be very hard to see through the various fabrics. So I might as well just go for it and take a pokey needle where I can just poke through all of the layers. Let's take this twine. This is one I just got from an amazing thrift store in the Netherlands. If you have not seen that video where I show you all my vintage finds and all the things I bought in the art store there and visiting my dear friend Maud, then have a look at my recent Plan With Me August video and you can see all about my amazing trip and all the things. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 and a little extra. So how many holes should we do? Normally for this size, if it was paper, I would just do 3 holes, 3-hole pamphlet stitch. But since this is fabric and everything is so floppy, kind of thinking it would be better to do more holes and just go from the bottom up and back down. So let me just figure out where this needs to be. So I'm going to just start here on the bottom and look through all of my layers. Try to be as straight as possible. And then I need to find my middle here. This is not as easy as you might think. So maybe this is not the best project for a beginner, or you do this in a better way. I have the feeling I'm just kind of winging it here. Battling my perfectionism on the go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm coming out here, leaving a tail long enough to tie that off in the end. And then I'm just going to keep moving up. So I'll try to stay straight here. I'll first go through the spine and then also try to stay straight here in my signature. I think this would be much easier with a template, to be honest. No, actually, and I'm actually straight here. Wow. I don't know how I did that. Okay, we have our first stitch in. Yay. So I'm just going to try to keep a similar distance here and stay in the middle of my spine. And just keep going up and weave back and forth and back and forth. At the end, I'll let you know if I would recommend this way of doing it or not. Because it could be a total fail. I think the important thing is to stay on this one line right here. Then I think not so much can go wrong. Famous last words. So once I'm at the top, I'm just going to weave the thread back down through the same holes that I came up in. And once I'm at the hole second to last, I can release the needle, pull these tight, and just make a double knot. Or let's say a surgeon's knot, meaning once left over right and once right over left. A little tricky one-handed. Where are the helping hands when you need them, right? No, we got this. We are independent. We will make do with 10 fingers. So before we cut it, let's just make sure it's nice and taut here. It's even fairly straight. Whoop, whoop. So then I'm going to just cut these short. Let's take these off. So we have our first signature sewn in, and I will do the other two in the same way off camera. One before this one and one behind this one. So I did it, and I can tell you I would not recommend this method. Please use the classical method of making a template, punching your holes with an awl, and then just going through it, because this was super challenging. You know, I've made hundreds of journals so far, and this was definitely one of the top 5 most challenging methods to sew in the signatures. I mean, this middle one was actually not that bad, but the first one, for example, I think the first one has the most number of pages, and I did not see where the middle was. And as you can see, it's totally not in the middle of this page. But it's fine, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be half of the page. One page can be short and the other can be wide. I really don't mind that, but it was so hard to figure out where to actually stitch through. So it did work out in the end. As you can see here, it is in the middle. But of course the pages move, and because they don't really have a structure, I kind of tore this, but that's fine, love that. So yeah, don't do it like this. Don't make your journaling life more difficult like I do. No need, really. So I would say these are approximately 1 centimeter apart from each other. Of course, we won't see this stitching in the end, but just so you have an idea. So now let's see, hopefully if we put this in the cover, it won't be too wide, hopefully. No, actually that's pretty good. Okay, so the next step is that we need to glue in the fabric to the spine. So that's going to be another challenge because, of course, the other thing I wasn't thinking about, this is waxed paper, and glue and waxed paper don't go together really well. I wonder, I'm going to do something. I'm going to use bookbinder's glue. I like this one from Kolal because that's a very strong glue. But I think what I'll even do before that is just take my matte gel and add it to the spine here in the hope that the glue will grab better. I don't know. Can't hurt. I think one of you viewers commented in one of the videos from this series to try that because I said I don't like using the wax paper within my journal because you can't glue anything on it. And she said try adding matte gel. So I'm doing that. Let's see if that helps. I mean, you could also use Mod Podge or anything else just to cover this waxy surface. I could go over the whole back side. Yeah, why not? Because who knows? Maybe I decide to add a pocket or, you know, we need to keep our options open. So let's just cover the whole thing. I just love how each journal is so individual that it needs individual solutions. You know what I mean? Because I love the challenge of finding solutions and not always just doing the same thing over and over. Like mask making is so not for me. I would get so bored. So I love this kind of a challenge. This needs to dry. Okay, so it's dry and it's completely matte now. It was a bit shiny before because of course it was a waxed paper, kind of like on the front. You can't really see it, but this is completely matte now, which is totally fine. So now let's take the bookbinder's glue and we'll put it here where I know the fabric is going to be. Just put it on this middle part now. Nice thick layer. And then I can take my signatures and take my cover and make sure these are centered. Yeah. And once I have the placement, I need to make sure this is straight. And then I'll take my awl and make sure it is burnished well in between the signatures here. You can also take a ruler, anything that will fit in here. I want to make sure that we don't have wrinkles. Then we flip this. Do the same thing on this side. And here. And on the other side. And then I can go ahead and add more here where there's more fabric. So you can see I'm adding plenty. I really want to make sure that this does not come out. And I do the same thing on the other side. Get rid of any excess here. Okay, and this really needs to dry now thoroughly before we continue. So I will just leave this like this and just let it dry. So it's a few hours later, and the good thing about the heat is that things dry quickly. So this feels 90% dry, good enough to keep working on. Of course, I think it would be best if you could leave it to dry overnight. but I need to continue with this, so I think we're good to go. The pages look like they're in really sturdily. Is that a word? Anyway, I'm very happy with the result. And as I mentioned before, I wanted to potentially trim some of these pages down, but now looking at them, and because they are now all closer to the spine, I actually don't think I want to trim any of them, because this looks like a good amount of scraps hanging out of the book. I don't think I would want to cut any of this off. Now we also still have this part here, which I left long because I didn't know whether I wanted to make this into a closure. So I've just glued this around my spine. And I also received the comment last time when I chose this button, or when I decided to add a button here at all. I received the comment, why add a button if you're not going to make it into a closure? Because I said I wasn't sure yet whether I would use it for a closure. But I just like how it looks there. So even if it doesn't have a function, I think it's a very decorative piece. So one option might be to actually make a closure by making a slit in here. I would first glue these two pieces together and then just cut a slit in here, and then we could just put the button through. But honestly, I don't like it because it makes the journal look so wide, because I would not want to do it like this and cram all these together, obviously. But I think like this, when it's loose, it doesn't look proportional for me. So that means for me that I am simply going to cut these ends off. Let's not cut them totally short, maybe like this. And then of course we need to fray these. Yeah, I like that. So now we'll move on to the inside. So far we don't have a lot of things to look at in here besides our wedding pictures here from the Digital Collage Club. And I showed you previously that I had these also printed out. So these are called Wedding Day, and this is day 1, day 2, and day 3. And since I already had printed these out, I want to use some of these as well. Obviously, I want to continue with the wedding theme, and I thought what I could do next is fussy cut some of these. I'll choose ones which are not too difficult, and we could maybe make belly bands with those. So I will first back these onto cardstock, because obviously these are too flimsy otherwise, and then I'll do some fussy cutting and then I'll be back. So I've cut these 3 couples out. I first backed them, of course, with the cardstock. I've also inked up the edges with scorched timber. And I'm thinking for each signature, we can choose like a more sturdy page, like for example, this interesting page here. So if we take one of the couples, we can, for example, use these strips. These are left over from these here. So we could take one of these and then put this on top, and maybe also put something underneath. So let's first tear this. Maybe we can add a piece of very sheer lace underneath. This is like a peach color. I'm not sure if this is the best option, but we'll try it. Not the worst option. We could also try something white like this one. Or maybe do it the other way around so that we don't lose this beautiful scrap. I think I like this one. So I'll actually just fray the top and the bottom a little bit. And then we could also maybe add a little button. I have some tiny ones here from my recent visit to the Netherlands. And, oh no, I don't want one with 4 holes. I don't want to make my life so difficult. So I'll take one with 2 holes because I want to sew through it. I put that maybe instead of her bouquet. And then I could sew through it and have the threads hanging so that maybe it looks like a bouquet. Oh, I like that. Okay, so let's do that first. Let's sew the button on. So I doubled my white sewing thread. I'll go around it a couple of times first. And then I'll come out in between the print and the button. And I'll try to make this a bit messy, I guess. Just go around the button a few times. So then I'll go around it a couple more times, come out again through the hole. I'm totally making this up as I go. And then go back to the back side. And then I can just cut it off and tie it off. So now we have like an abstract bouquet. Yeah, I like it. So then we can just glue on the couple. And then the strip. And let's make sure there's no glue here, since this should be a belly band. And finally, we just glue the top here and here. Very happy with this one. So let's find another page. Maybe in this second signature here. Do we have anything that is sturdy enough? I guess we could put it on this page. So couple number 2. We could also do a belly band like this. We want to add some lace underneath. Maybe this one. Yep, that's the way to go. So I'll do the same thing with the button and the bouquet. So there's belly band number 2 ready to go. And we just need to find one more page here in the third signature. Oh, this is going to be challenging. There's nothing sturdy here. Oh no. What do we do? I mean, maybe we could use this here. This has several layers. So we have this couple left. We have this strip here. This should go, I think, vertical again. And since we don't have one that's tall enough, we could just put these two together. I love this piece. I love it because it's so raggedy. Does it want to go here? Let's cut this. Yep. So here's number 3 finished. Next, I want to take one of the other images. Again, I've backed this with cardstock to make it into a sturdy card. And I want to glue this onto a page. Maybe that's too close. How about this one? And then I found this beautiful heart. I could maybe add that here. And then use one of these fabric buttons. In this case, I would just glue it on, but I would thread some thread through it. That could maybe be dangling down a little bit. But I also want to sew around this. So there's that one finished. Next, I want to add this image in our middle signature somewhere. Ah, no. All good. Adds to the grunginess. Yeah, this one I think will go on this piece here. But what can we put on it? I have this one, but it has 3 pearls that are quite bulky. But oh my goodness, it would be so beautiful. Can I do that? Oof, look. I don't know. Then it won't stay closed. Oh, then I see, now now I'm thinking I do need a closure because look what's happening already. I know. I love the pearls. What if we put them on this side? Maybe move the whole thing over and put it more on the outside, like so. Yeah, that would definitely be better here on the outside. I just need to have this there. I'll worry about the bulk later. Gosh, I've had these pieces for, I don't know, years and years and years, and I always wanted to hoard them rather than use them. But this is really the perfect journal to add these. I'll put it as far out as possible. Try not to glue it onto the next page. Oh my goodness, I am in love with this. It would be really cool if there was some stamping here, right? What could we add there? How about something simple like these crosses, because they look like stitched crosses. This is Stampers Anonymous. Tim Holtz has the name Mini Media Mark CMS 364. I will link these for you below. I'll stamp them in black. Let's put a board underneath so it will actually stamp well. Do I do just one? Yeah, I think just one is enough. Love this. Sometimes you really just need a touch of something. For the third signature, I want to add this image. I can put it here. And as additional decoration, we could either do this cute heart lace, or I also have these very delicate hearts. There's also this round one. The options. I also have this very last butterfly. I had a whole doily and I used all of the butterflies. Oops, it's meant to go this way. This is my very last one. I am so sad because I love having these in my projects, obviously. Let's just see if he needs to go here. No, he doesn't. It's not the right place. Okay, so I kind of like these hearts here because there's 2 hearts. This is definitely definitely too much then. I feel like it needs just something here. What if we cut out one of these hearts? I like that. Maybe with some thread underneath. Okay, so this one is ready to go as well. So it's a little bit later, and as you can see, I have made a closure because it would not stay closed. So I decided on a vertical closure because I really didn't want to cramp these pieces up. So why not do a vertical one? So I simply wrapped this thread around the button and it's loose like this. I added a couple more touches, not too much. And the interesting thing about making journals, something that I experience often, is when I make a unique journal like this, the journal teaches me something every time I have a feeling. And this time it taught me that a journal doesn't have to be filled with a lot of stuff. When you have interesting textures like we have in this one, I actually think it's a lot nicer to just have a few focal points like this and let the rest of the textures speak for themselves. Because that makes these images really special because the journal is not overloaded with them. So they're like little highlights, little pieces of eye candy hidden within the journal. So let me just flip through this and show you the things that I've added in the meantime. So here I've added these cute little flowers. So a lot of these I've just left because, as I said, I just think they're so lovely. Why would I cover these up? I love that we can see the image through this beautiful fabric. I just stuck a folded coffee dyed paper in this belly band just so that it doesn't look so empty. I added the butterfly here. It really wanted to go here next to these butterflies. And as you can see, I added the stitched stamp as well. I've added that in a few more places in the journal just so that it looks more cohesive and so that one stamp that we made together didn't seem weird on its own. But I love this here. So this is my very last one. I didn't do anything here because this Tim Holtz fabric is just gorgeous. On the back of this, I collaged some more of this Tim Holtz tissue paper and added this because I could see the back of the card coming through and I didn't like that. So this I like a lot better now. Then we have these gorgeous, gorgeous fabrics. And we have another eye candy here and here. I love these collaged papers. Oh my goodness. Then I also stamped a couple of sentiments on these very delicate tissue papers. This is a random stamp. I cannot share the name of the stamp collection because it's a no name. I've had this forever and it says, being happy doesn't mean everything's perfect. It means you decide to see beyond the imperfections. I found that kind of fitting for a wedding journal. So there's our second belly band. Again, I just stuck a folded coffee dyed paper in here. I added some more of the stitched stamp there. Then we have this one here that says smile. It is the key that fits the lock of everybody's heart. I like this one here because of the smile, because you know, in these vintage wedding photos, they never smile. So I just love this. Then we have You Are My Happy. This one I can share. This is from this stamp set, Stampers Anonymous, Tim Holtz Note Quotes, CMS 463. I will link this one below. Did I show this? I don't know. I stamped 2 here because, you know, wedding couples 2 kind of made sense for me. And this is, of course, from my beloved stamp set, Stampers Anonymous, Tim Holtz, Paint by Numbers, CMS 483. And I just love the simplicity of it. In this journal, less is more, in my opinion. Just enjoy all these beautiful textures. It really makes you want to go over every page with your hand. Just added the stamp here again. Added another paper in our third belly band. Then I added this thing. It's of course very bulky, but again, by putting it on the outside like this, it's okay. Had that forever as well. And finally in the back here, I added a pocket on my back cover, and for now I just stuck my business card in here. I might change that, let's see. So that's my slashed paper journal. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you had fun. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.